Hey everybody, hope your day is going fabulous. If you watched my video on the ProtoArc EM01 trackball mouse, then you know I said I'd be using it as my work mouse for a bit and that I'd get back to you with an update on my experience using it. Not only will I be doing that in today's video, but I'll also be reviewing ProtoArc's EM11 vertical mouse. Welcome to the middle of nowhere. I'm just going to go right out and say it. Trackball mice are not my jam. That's not to say the EM01 is a bad mouse, I'm just a bad trackball user. Because I wanted to clock in some decent usage time to better report back to you, I gave it the old college try and used the EM01 for 3 full workdays before giving up and going back to my Evowind vertical mouse. My biggest issue while using the EM01 was my imprecision when making drag selections for text or images. I'd over or under select, which caused no end of frustration. That precision I have when using an optical mouse just wasn't there. I don't think the fault lies with the EM01, but rather it lies with me. I'm just no good at using a trackball, and to simply put it, using one doesn't feel as natural to me as holding a mouse and moving my wrist and forearm. For you, however, the experience might be the complete opposite. Regardless of my inability to adequately use the EM01, let me just tell you it's a good little peripheral. First off, it was super easy to connect to my work computer, which is an Intel-based MacBook Pro. In the video for the EM01, I showed you how easy it is to connect the mouse via Bluetooth to a Windows-based PC, and it's just as easy with the Mac. The buttons are also responsive and quiet, but almost too quiet. I prefer more clicky mouse buttons like on my Logitech G502 Hero. That auditory cue combined with a tactile bump is very satisfying. With the EM01, there's a tactile bump, but there's nearly no auditory feedback. The 2-point adjustability of the EM01 and being able to change the DPI between 3 settings is also very nice. If angled, the mouse never inadvertently moved by accident. While I adjusted it to try the 20-degree angle setting, I mostly stuck with the flatter of the 2 angles. With regards to the DPI, I used the middle setting of 1600. It allowed me to move the cursor fast enough between 2 monitors without losing track of it. Finally, the RGB is subtle, and to save on battery life turns off fairly quickly when not using the mouse. It's a nice little piece of design flair that isn't too gaudy, and if you don't like it, you can just turn it off. Speaking of battery, I had no need to charge the mouse during the 3 days of use, and that's without charging it prior to using it. Essentially, I used whatever charge it came with from the factory where it was made or warehouse from which it was sent. And that's it. While this video isn't really about the EM01, I did want to report back to you with my experience using it before moving on to another ProtoArc product. While trackball mice aren't for me, I can at least say this one isn't bad for the price and that maybe you should consider looking at it while researching and shopping for your next trackball. Now on to the ProtoArc's EM11 wireless vertical mouse. But first a disclaimer. ProtoArc was pleased with my last video and offered to send me the EM11 to review for free, to which I agreed. As with the EM01 video, ProtoArc has not paid me any money and they do not get to see this video prior to me publishing it live to YouTube. All thoughts on the EM11 vertical wireless mouse are my own and were influenced only by my user experience. At the time of this video, you can purchase the EM11 vertical mouse at the affordable price of $29.99. In the box, you get the mouse, a USB charging cable with Type A and C connections that's about 5 feet or 1.5 meters in length, and instructions. The EM11 is wireless and can be connected through the 2.4 GHz band using the included dongle or via Bluetooth. Unlike the EM01, the wireless dongle for the EM11 can be stored in the mouse. This is a nice touch and lessens the likelihood of losing the dongle or having to store it away from the EM11. It fits firmly into its holster, so the risk of it randomly falling out should be fairly low. You can connect the mouse to up to 3 devices and switch between them, 1 through the wireless dongle and 2 via Bluetooth. After having tried, you cannot unfortunately connect the mouse to your computer through the included USB cable. I think it would be nice to have this third method of connection, as you never know when you might need a wired connection. You can at least still use the mouse while it's charging though. The pairing button is on the bottom and connecting the EM11 to a device via wireless or Bluetooth is super easy. Just follow the included instructions and pair it to your Windows, Mac OS, Android, or iOS 13 or higher devices. It took me less than 2 minutes to connect the EM11 to my MacBook Pro and my Windows PC. There are 5 usable buttons on the mouse: left and right click, forward and backward buttons, and a scroll wheel with a button. The left and right mouse buttons are quiet with a tactile bump, and the mouse wheel button and forward and backward buttons have an audible click to them. The forward and backward buttons are well placed, but those with smaller hands like me might strain a little trying to both maintain a grip on the mouse and push one of these buttons. There are 3 DPI settings for this mouse: 1000, 1600, and 2400. The button to change the DPI is also on the bottom next to the power switch. There's a red light to let you know which DPI setting you're on between the scroll wheel and the RGB button. When you adjust the DPI, the indicator flashes once for 1000, 2 times for 1600, and 3 times for 2400. This light also flashes to let you know when the battery needs charging and lights up blue when you're charging it. Upon full charge, the light turns off. There's a 930 mAh battery in the EM11, and according to the manual, a full charge lasts about a week if you have the RGB lighting on. Speaking of, as with the EM01, there's a nice little RGB accent strip on top of the EM11. There are 4 modes to choose from, and you can change between them by pushing the lighting button. To turn the lighting on or off, simply hold the button down for 2 seconds. That's pretty much it for the EM11's features. So how is it using the mouse? The EM11 is super light, and my hand fits nicely around it. The tail of the mouse lets the bottom of my palm rest easily on it as well. Having said that, the rubbery material on the mouse shell is a little slippery and can make getting a good grip on it more difficult than it ought to be. It's almost like you want to grab the mouse and then push it into your hand to better secure it. Regarding size, the EM11 isn't very large, so if your name is Andrei Rene Roussimoff or Paul White, you might not like how small it is. I'm not saying people with giant hands won't be able to use the EM11, but comfortability might be a concern. As with the EM01, I found the middle DPI setting of 1600 on the EM11 to be the most optimal for my needs. I never had any tracking issues in terms of the pointer hopping or not tracking properly across the screen. And this includes using the EM11 on both a cloth mouse pad with the design and Corsair's MM800 Polaris hard mouse pad. The 5 glide points on the mouse bottom allow for very smooth travel on either surface. I think the most noticeable issue while using the mouse over the course of the last 2 weeks was that sometimes my selection holds would drop off. I'd have a chunk of text selected and it would unselect as if I had released the mouse button. As with the EM01, the EM11 mouse buttons have that same rubber texture, a tactile bump when pushing the button, and a subtle click sound. What I'm unsure about is whether or not I pushed the button hard enough to maintain the selection, if something was interfering with the Bluetooth signal to my Mac, or if the switches ProtoArch uses for the mouse are just not very good. While this issue wasn't frequent, it was noticeable when it happened, and it caused some frustration while working. It's definitely something to look out for in user reviews to see if other people are experiencing the same issue or something similar. Overall, using the ProtoArch EM11 vertical mouse has been good. I've been using a vertical mouse for work for years now, and it's a great way to let my wrist get some rest before I go to my personal computer and play games, edit content, or write scripts for videos like this one. That the EM11 is wireless means one less cable to have to worry about cluttering my desk or getting chewed on by my jerk cat. At $29.99, I definitely recommend giving the EM11 a look to see if it fits your needs in a mouse. And that's all I have to say about ProtoArch's EM11 vertical mouse. What kind of mouse do you use for work and play? Have you ever used a vertical mouse? If so, what brand have you used? Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, hit that like button and share any questions or comments you have down below. You can show your support for the channel by getting subscribed, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any future content. And hey, while you're here, why not check out some of the other videos I've made? I'm Seth, and I'll see you next time in the middle of nowhere.